The Drive with Tim Donnelly here on 99.9 The Fan. Joining us now in studio, my co-host on the Pack Therapy podcast, which, by the way, follow the Pack Therapy podcast everywhere you find your pods. Like, subscribe, all those sorts of things. It's on our YouTube page, 99.9 The Fan. Should be a pretty good one this week. We have James Henderson, Inside Pack Sports, joining us. So full interview there on the bye week. Speaking of the bye, it's Panthers bye week. It's NC State's bye week, and they have two quarterbacks that I think have high expectations. MJ Morris taking over for Brendan Armstrong. The everything was, he was going to fix everything according to some. Bryce Young comes into a Panther situation, number 1 overall pick. He was going to fix everything according to some, and they've had their ups and downs and struggles, but now they have a bye week. What is it like for a quarterback who needs to reset? Is it unplugging? Is it diving further into the playbook? What is the bye week?
It's doing a little reflecting. It's doing some self-scouting. That falls primarily on the coaches to find tendencies to make sure you get away from. The Panthers, obviously a huge week with changing offensive coordinators, play callers, so kind of mapping out how do we reflect on what we did and how do we want to go the rest of the season. It's also a great time to just get away when things aren't going good. Sometimes you just need to get away from the game and do nothing with football. And I think I saw Bryce Young already. The Panthers might have had a little Halloween party.
He was dressed as Spider-Man.
Yep. So that's a good thing. It kind of gets your mind off football, reset a little, kick back, relax, go home, go back to your college, whatever it is, just to get your mind away from it. And then, when you get back on Sunday or Monday, it's go time. Especially in the NFL. I mean, it's a long season, and something that Bryce Young really isn't used to is you do kind of have that rookie wall. Man, it feels like a long season. So you got to rejuvenate and get ready to go for really they still have 2/3 left of their season left to go.
And one more game even than when you were a rookie.
Yeah, it's a long season. I remember it's kind of around the November, like Thanksgiving. College football at that point has like one more game, and because like to say that Saturday night, they've already done their game and you're getting ready to play. You still have like a third of your season left, and college football is pretty much done, and it gets long.
I talk a lot about how if you play football your entire life, your entire your year is you don't even have to like check a calendar. You know what time of year it is, and one of the biggest shocks is. The first year you're out of football, you realize that August is still summer because your entire life August is the beginning of fall and you're at camp and everything. So you're probably just now getting used to that. I'm well used to it at this point. But along those lines, right? Two teams that we talk about every time you come on the show are on bye. This is one. I can talk about what it's like to have a bye in college, but not in the pros. What's the difference? What's the difference between the bye week in college and the bye week in the NFL?
There's a couple different philosophies that coaches take in the NFL. Some are we're going to come in on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, have a light practice, which is kind of similar what you would do to in college where it's more like training camp practice. The ones are going against the ones. You get a chance to get the twos some reps where they're not typically taking many reps during the season. Or there's the philosophy of go home, get out all week. We'll see you next week when we get back. And those are the coaches that you like. It's like,
that's called the players coach.
But it helps when you win the week before. When you're 0-6.
0-6 for the Panthers, yeah.
It's hard to tell the guys see you next week. I would think they probably had a couple practices this week to kind of clean some things up and then still get away. They're probably out of there Thursday at noon. You get to go home and get away.
I love I've said this on the show a ton. I'm a mic'd up junkie. I love the pressure that in a winner's locker room when the veterans are going like, "See you Wednesday, see you Wednesday." And
there's a see you Wednesday and there's a see you next week. The see you next week is the all-time great one.
We're talking with Mike Glennon, former NC State quarterback, longtime NFL quarterback. Your NC State Wolfpack. You go to a bunch of the games. On an off week, you're looking at some maybe offensive revamping, as you mentioned, the self-scouting and things. What do you think is the biggest difference we may see from the NC State offense coming out of the break?
I think they're just going to find more ways to find a way to get Casey Concepcion the ball. We're going to find as many different creative ways to line him up in the backfield. Again, the motions, the receiver, everything. And I think it's also about finding what MJ Morris is comfortable with and build off of that. And then the last piece is the offensive line has got to work on blitz pickup. I wouldn't even call them exotic blitzes, but there's some blitzes that teams bring every week, and NC State seems to struggle to pick them up. So from an offensive line standpoint, it's about picking up these blitzes. From a quarterback standpoint, it's finding what MJ Morris likes and doing that. From an offensive coordinator standpoint, it's about finding KC Concepcion the ball. And then from a defense standpoint, we can't forget about them. They've been good. They got to find a way to limit the big plays and kind of those mental errors that go with that of being in the right gap. Everyone's got to be in the right gap. If one person's in the wrong gap, that could lead to a big play, and that's what we saw last week against Duke.
The getting the ball to KC Concepcion is always interesting to me because my college years we were very everybody's equal, right? We didn't have a number one. We maybe wanted to, but we spread it around. Is it just watching film of guys like Justin Jefferson or Devontae, the guys who everyone because to be quite honest, sometimes even I'm confused. I'm going like, okay, you know that they're going to pepper Justin Jefferson with 20 targets and he's going to catch 10 balls. Like, how does the defensive coordinator not figure it out? But obviously the offensive minds are, they're smart too. Is it just watching those guys or like when you say the bye week is going to be about getting Casey the ball in different ways, how do you do that? Is it I always go back to like the water boy. Like I have my blue and green notebook with plays. Do you just flip through it?
I think there's some of that. I think there's kind of two elements of it. There's the chalkboard where you have your set of plays and you're saying how many different ways can we formation this, motion to it, shift to it that makes KC the number one target in that particular play.
Yeah, the first read.
The other way you do this is it's a copycat league. You find plays that are being run around college football, being run in the NFL that are really cool designs, and you say, you know what, we're going to put that in our offense, and we're going to put KC Concepcion to be that guy that gets the ball. So I think it's a couple different ways. It's the self-scout, it's the drawing on a chalkboard, and then it's the copycat league of kind of stealing plays.
We're going to look across town real quickly here with Mike Glennon, NC State legend and longtime NFL quarterback. The rival, UNC, going up against Virginia. UNC has they're undefeated. They're one of the top teams in the country when you look at the rankings. But with Tez Walker catching 3 touchdowns last week, it feels like there's another level there. They're going up against a Virginia team that again, using statistics and rankings, objective things here, isn't going to scare anybody. Is there a thought of like, let's put on a show, let's dazzle them because at a certain point you're going to want the committee to choose you if you continue on the trajectory you're on, and people say style points don't count, but they kind of do when there's opinions involved. Should they be razzle dazzling with Tez and the crew?
Yes, I think they should be. I think Drake May, honestly, up until the last few weeks, his numbers weren't great
until Tez showed up.
And now I think you do. You try to put up as many points as you can. I mean, this is college football. We're not, feeling bad for the other side, showing good sportsmanship. It's a big boy league, and they should be trying to score as many points as they can because at the end of the season, that stuff matters. And they're gonna, if they continue playing the way they are, they're gonna be legit contenders to possibly get in the college football playoff if they take care of business.
Crosstown again, Duke, Florida State, maybe one of, if not the, probably not the, but one of the games of the weekend. Surprising. I mean, Duke is playing top 5 Florida State, and it's like, hey, we actually need to watch this game. Which I would have been asking. Go back 5 years, I would have been asking the same question I just asked about North Carolina. Should they razzle dazzle them about Florida State this weekend? And it doesn't seem that way.
It still feels kind of weird hearing Duke in those conversations, but I'll say I enjoy watching Duke play football because they put a good product on the field. The coaches clearly coach these guys up well. They're well disciplined. They're in the right spot, so they play really good, fundamentally sound football. And Riley Leonard is another player that's fun to watch. I hope he gets a play. Sounds like there's a good chance he is.
He's working towards it. They're likely, I think, is the term Elko.
And then Florida State is a ton of fun to watch. What Keon Coleman's doing there, the guy looks like he's going to be a potential top 15 pick in the draft. Jordan Travis as well. And overall, I think Florida State outmatches Duke. But because of the way Duke plays such disciplined football, I think they could, make this a 4-quarter game against a good Florida State team.
Mike Glennon joining us here in studio on The Drive. Last one, and it's going to tie in a bunch of the things we talked about. Keon Coleman, but also Johnny Wilson is back, who's another prospect at wide receiver for Florida State. We've talked about, Casey Concepcion being a number 1 wide receiver. We've talked about some of the struggles for Bryce Young and the Panthers. When you look at the Panthers roster, there's a whole bunch of think pieces out there that say needs more help on the outside, more separation. Depending on what they do in the trade market, and there's some Brian Burns rumors, they could end up with a mid-first. They could end up with a second. That's kind of Keon Coleman, Johnny Wilson. So Panthers fans, you may want to watch the Duke-Florida State game and do a little scouting. How important is it for a young quarterback early in your career, Vincent Jackson and Mike Evans kind of that's going to be, it's 2 number 1s. How important is it for Bryce to get a number 1 as quickly as possible?
He needs to get a number 1 that he can build with. But, Adam Thielen is playing like a true number 1. I think it's kind of
he's going to be a Pro Bowler, and he's like borderline all-pro on pace right now.
I get the age part of it, and that he's not going to be able to play with Bryce for 10 years, but he's not showing signs of slowing down, so he could be a piece to grow with. Talk about Vincent Jackson. Vincent Jackson was probably around the same age as Adam Thielen when I got there as a rookie, and without a doubt, if there was any chance to throw Vincent the ball, I was going to, and I feel like Bryce is at that exact same point, and if he has guys on same mirror routes, it's going to Adam Thielen. He doesn't care who the corner is. He might not even care if the safety's favored to that side. And it's a great security blanket. So although you could be kind of critical, I guess, of the surrounding pieces of Bryce Young that they went out and got Adam Thielen, you got to give that front office credit for.
One of the free agent signings of the year for sure. Mike, we appreciate your time as always, and everybody else, check out Pack Therapy Podcast, found everywhere podcasts can be found. We'll be back with more of The Drive in a second.